In today's video, we'll be discussing the mysterious disappearance of 27-year-old Jodi Huisentruit. Jodi was a TV news anchor who vanished from Mason City, Iowa back in 1995. On that day, Jodi had overslept for her early morning shift at KIMT TV. She had spoken to a colleague before she walked out of her apartment complex. She said she was leaving right now, and Jodi only lived a few minutes away from work, but she never made it there. Later, police would find a struggle outside of Jodi's apartment complex next to her red Mazda Miata. The beloved TV news anchor was gone. It's been almost 30 years, and I don't feel like we're any closer to finding out where Jodi is now than we were 3 decades ago. There's so many unanswered questions, the most important being what happened to Jodi Huisentruit. Jodi Sue Huisentruit was born in Minnesota on June 5th, 1968. She was the youngest of three daughters to Maurice and Imogene Huisentruit. Tragedy struck Jodi when she was just 13 years old. Her father, Maurice, would pass away. Jodi would excel at sports, especially golf, and that passion grew as she got older. After high school, Jodi majored in mass communications and would co-anchor the campus news show. Jodi began her broadcasting career by starting off in small television markets for extremely low pay and at very early hours. By 1993, Jodi had moved to Mason City, Iowa, where she would anchor the morning news. Jodi had a 2-year contract with KIMT TV. That contract was set to expire in the fall of 1995. Jodi was applying for other jobs in different states right before she vanished. On June 27th, 1995, Jodi was supposed to be at KIMT at around 3:30 a.m. to start her shift as a news anchor. By about 4 a.m., when Jodi still wasn't there, the show's assistant producer, Amy Coons, called Jodi. She spoke with her. She could tell that she had just woken Jodi up. Jodi was like, "Oh my gosh, what time is it? I'm getting ready to leave. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Jodi only lived a couple of minutes away from work. But Jodi never made it into work, and the show's producer, Amy, had to anchor the morning news. By 7 a.m., when no one was still able to get a hold of Jodi, they called the police. Investigators believe Jodi grabbed her purse, briefcase, hairdryer, hairspray, and headed out of her second-floor apartment down to the parking lot. This was around 4:30 a.m. There were no signs of a struggle in Jodi's apartment, but down next to her 1991 Mazda Miata, some of her belongings were scattered on the ground. There was a bent car key, her hairspray, hairdryer, shoes, an earring, and drag marks, leading investigators to believe that Jodi was abducted down at her car. Her car key was bent, so it seemed like she was at her door with the key in the lock when she was attacked. There were no eyewitnesses, but neighbors did say they remember hearing a scream around 4:30 a.m., but no one called for help. Police found a palm print on Jodi's car. They processed the outside of the vehicle for fingerprints. Special canine dogs were brought to the apartment complex to search and also searched a river nearby, but they found nothing. Police believe that whoever took Jodi had to have been close to her or at least know her routine and schedule. They had to have been lying in wait for her to come outside. It only took about 30 seconds for Jodi to get from her apartment down to her car. And remember, she was running late, so I'm sure she wasn't walking like a sloth. She was probably at a slow sprint running to her car to get to work. And yet, in that small time frame, Jodi was abducted. Investigators started focusing on those closest to Jodi, and one name kept coming up: John Van Cise. John and Jodi had met at a bar about 8 months before she disappeared. John was 20 years her senior. Everyone said that John looked at Jodi as much more than a friend, but Jodi never felt the same way. Not only did John name his boat after Jodi, he helped a friend throw a surprise party for her 27th birthday. That party was videotaped, but it's never been fully released to the public. It's been reported that John, throughout the whole party, was laser focused on Jodi and would get a little jealous when she would talk to other men. John also reported to police and the media that he was the last person to see Jodi before she disappeared. On the night before she went missing, John said that Jodi came by his house to view the videotape he had taken at her surprise party. He said it was kind of late and she wasn't there for very long. Now, John has never been formally named as a suspect in this case, more of a person of interest, and he's always maintained he had nothing to do with her disappearance. But I think a lot of the remarks and some of his emotions while he's being interviewed by the media are interesting. For example, others that were interviewed about Jodi's abduction were teary eyed, crying, fearful of where Jodi could be and what could be happening to her. But in John's interviews, he didn't seem like he had a care in the world, wasn't worried, smiling, and even referred to the relationship as father daughter. Something else happened that was pretty strange. On the morning that Jodi disappeared, the show's assistant producer, Amy Kuntz, the one who had to go on the air for Jodi in her place, said she got a strange call from John at around 7 a.m. She said that John was asking where Jodi was and why she wasn't on the air. Amy said she brushed it off, but she thought the call was odd. I think it's odd that John was so worried about Jodi that he called her workplace within minutes of her not being on the air. But after learning that she was likely attacked and abducted in interviews, he didn't seem to care at all. In 2017, a federal grand jury subpoenaed fingerprints, palm prints, and DNA swabs from John Van Cise. He said he's taken a polygraph and passed with flying colors. He has never been arrested in connection to her disappearance, but he's always been considered a person of interest. In recent years, a private investigator on the case uncovered a secret fling that Jodi was having days before she vanished. Now, this mystery man hasn't been identified, but he has been cleared by police. But it makes you wonder if this secret fling with this mystery man made someone in Jodi's life so jealous that they could have taken her. If I can't have you, no one can. Jodi was declared legally dead in 2001. Someone out there knows exactly what happened to Jodi. Maybe you're keeping a secret for someone. Anyone with information needs to come forward. Jodi's family has spent 3 decades without any answers. The reward for locating Jodi's remains has increased from $25,000 to $50,000. Give this video a like and let me know if we need to do a deeper dive into Jodi's case. Subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this.